This happened 4 years ago during Thanksgiving. My family has this tradition where we rotate who hosts Thanksgiving each year, and that year it was my Aunt Michelle's turn. She lived about 4 hours away in rural Pennsylvania, in this old farmhouse that had been in her husband's family for generations. I decided to drive up the day before Thanksgiving to help with preparations. My GPS had me take this back road for the last 40 minutes of the drive. It was already getting dark around 4:30 p.m., and the road was practically deserted. Just trees on both sides, no streetlights, barely any cell service. About 20 minutes into the back road, I noticed headlights in my rearview mirror. Nothing unusual at first, except they were maintaining the exact same distance behind me. When I sped up to 60, they sped up. When I slowed to 45, they slowed. After 10 minutes of this, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were just going to the same area. Maybe they were using me as a pace car on the dark road. But then I passed a small gas station, one of those old ones with just 2 pumps, and decided to pull in. My gas tank was 3/4 full, but I needed to know if this car would follow. They drove past. I exhaled, feeling stupid for being paranoid. The car was a dark pickup truck, maybe blue or black, hard to tell in the dim light. I went inside, bought a coffee I didn't want, killed about 5 minutes. When I got back on the road, it was empty, for about 3 miles. Then those same headlights appeared behind me again. Same distance, same pattern. My throat went dry. There was no way this was coincidental. They'd been waiting somewhere up ahead. I grabbed my phone, 1 bar of signal. I tried calling my aunt, but it wouldn't connect. The GPS showed I was still 18 miles from her house. 18 miles of empty road with someone following me. That's when the truck started flashing its high beams. On, off, on, off. My heart was hammering. Were they trying to get me to pull over? Warning me about something wrong with my car? I wasn't stopping to find out. The high beams kept flashing, getting more aggressive. Then the truck surged forward, closing the gap between us. They were maybe 2 car lengths behind now, high beams blinding me in the mirrors. I pushed the accelerator, hitting 70 on the winding road. They matched my speed exactly. A sign appeared, Millbrook, 2 miles. I remembered passing through Millbrook on previous trips. It was tiny, but there was a 24-hour diner right off the main drag. Witnesses, phones, safety. The truck must have sensed my plan because suddenly it accelerated hard, pulling into the oncoming lane like it was going to pass me. But instead of passing, it stayed there, matching my speed, boxing me in. I couldn't see the driver through their tinted windows, but I could feel them watching me. We drove parallel like that for what felt like forever, but was probably 30 seconds. Then, without warning, the truck swerved toward me. I yanked the wheel right, my passenger side scraping against the guardrail in a shower of sparks. The truck immediately dropped back behind me again. I was sobbing now, my whole body shaking. The Millbrook exit was just ahead. I didn't use my turn signal, just yanked the wheel at the last second, tires screaming as I took the exit at 50 miles per hour. The truck shot past, unable to make the turn. I flew into Millbrook, running the only stop sign, and skidded into the diner parking lot. There were 3 other cars there. I ran inside, probably looking absolutely insane, and told the waitress to call 911. While she was calling, I watched the road through the window. 5 minutes later, the truck slowly cruised past the diner. It didn't stop, just crawled by at maybe 15 miles per hour. Even through the diner's neon signs reflecting off the windshield, I could see the driver was looking right at the diner, right at me. Then they accelerated and disappeared into the darkness. The cops came and took my statement. They said they'd patrol the road but never found the truck. I waited 2 hours until my uncle could come to escort me the rest of the way to my aunt's house, following me in his car. Here's the part that still makes my skin crawl. When we got to my aunt's house and I got out of my car, my uncle noticed something. My back left tire had a nail in it. Not just randomly picked up from the road, it had been deliberately hammered in, positioned perfectly to cause a slow leak. If I hadn't stopped at that diner, I would have had a flat tire on that dark, empty road, with that truck right behind me. We checked the gas station security footage later. The truck had pulled around back while I was inside, out of view of the cameras. That's when they must have done it. They were trying to leave me stranded. I don't drive alone on rural roads anymore. And every Thanksgiving, when my family asks why I fly instead of drive, I just say I don't like driving in holiday traffic. It's easier than explaining that somewhere out there, someone in a dark pickup truck had very specific plans for me that night. Plans I barely escaped. This happened last year during Thanksgiving. I'm divorced, and it was my year to have my 2 kids. We'd planned to have dinner at my house, just the 3 of us, keeping it simple. The night before, I was up until about 1 a.m. preparing food. Pies in the oven, turkey marinating, the whole deal. The kids had already gone to bed. I was exhausted, and finally heading upstairs when I heard something from the kitchen I just left. A chair scraping against the floor. I froze on the stairs, listened. Nothing else. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the cat had jumped on a chair. So I went back to check. All 4 kitchen chairs had been pulled out from the table and turned to face the back door, arranged in a perfect row, like someone had set them up for an audience. My cat was upstairs. I'd locked the back door myself an hour earlier. It was still locked. My hands were shaking as I pushed the chairs back. I double-checked all the doors and windows. Everything was secure. I barely slept that night. In the morning, I didn't mention anything to the kids. We were having a good day, cooking together, watching the parade. Around 2 p.m., my son went to let the cat out the back door and stopped. "Mom, why is there dirt on the floor?" There were footprints, muddy boot prints, leading from the back door to the kitchen table. Fresh. They weren't there when I checked that morning. The door was still locked. The deadbolt that could only be locked or unlocked from inside. I grabbed both kids, my phone, and my keys, and we left immediately. Went straight to my neighbor's house and called 911. The police came and searched the house. They found someone had been in my basement. There were fresh food wrappers, empty water bottles, and a makeshift bed behind the water heater. Worse, they found a hole cut in the basement ceiling, right under my bedroom floor. It was small, maybe 6 inches across, but when they looked through it with a camera, they could see directly up through a gap between my floorboards, straight up to my bed. The basement window lock had been broken from the inside. The theory was, someone had been living in my basement for at least several days, possibly weeks. They'd been coming upstairs at night when we were asleep. The hole was for watching me sleep. We stayed in a hotel for 3 days while the police processed everything, and I had new locks installed, security systems, cameras, everything. When we finally came back, I found something the police had missed. In my bedroom closet, several of my clothes had been moved. Personal items, underwear specifically, were missing. But there was something else. A photo of me and my kids from last Christmas was gone from my dresser, but it wasn't really gone. I found it under my pillow. Under the pillow on the side of the bed I don't sleep on. The police never caught anyone. The fingerprints they found didn't match anyone in the system. The food wrappers and water bottles were generic brands sold everywhere. No one in the neighborhood had seen anything unusual. Here's what terrifies me most. The furniture moving, the footprints on Thanksgiving. I think they wanted me to know. They'd been there for weeks without me noticing. They could have stayed hidden, but they chose to reveal themselves, like they were escalating, building up to something. We moved 2 months later. I couldn't stay there knowing someone had been beneath my floor, watching me sleep, close enough to hear me breathe. Even now, in our new house with all its security, I check the basement every night. I check every closet, every corner. Because somewhere out there, someone has a photo of me and my children. Someone who was comfortable enough to live in my house, patient enough to wait and watch, and bold enough to let me know they were there. My kids still don't know the full truth. I told them it was just a break-in, that someone was looking for things to steal. They don't know about the hole, the watching. They don't need to carry that fear. But I do. Every night. Especially now with another Thanksgiving approaching. I wonder if they found another family, another basement, another hole to watch through. The chair scraping sound. I still hear it sometimes when the house is quiet, even though I know it's just my imagination. At least, I hope it is. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I work as a security guard. This happened in 2022, and I drew the short straw and had to work Thanksgiving night at this shopping center. You know, for the Black Friday crowds that would start lining up at midnight. My shift started at 6 p.m. The mall was completely dead except for the movie theater on the far end, which was showing a few late movies. My job was basically to patrol the empty parking lot and the locked mall entrances every hour. Make sure no one was trying to camp out early or break in. Around 9 p.m., I was doing my rounds when I noticed a van in the parking lot. It was parked way out in the furthest corner, under a broken streetlight. What caught my attention was that it was running. I could see the exhaust in the cold air, but all the lights were off. I drove my security vehicle over to check it out. As I got closer, I could see it was an older model cargo van, white, pretty beat up. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. I parked about 20 feet away and turned on my spotlight, aiming it at the van. The engine immediately shut off. I sat there for a moment, waiting. Nobody got out. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, let dispatch know I was checking on a suspicious vehicle, and approached the driver's side. I knocked on the window. "Security? Everything okay in there?" No response. I knocked harder. "I need you to roll down the window or step out of the vehicle." The window cracked down maybe 2 inches. The interior was pitch black, and all I could see was the vague outline of someone in the driver's seat. A man's voice, really flat and emotionless, said, "Just waiting for someone." "The mall's closed, sir. Only the theater is open. Are you picking someone up from there?" "Yes." "What movie are they seeing?" A pause. Too long of a pause. "The action one." I knew the theater schedule. There were 3 movies playing, none of them action films. 2 romantic comedies and an animated kids movie. "Sir, I'm going to need you to leave the property. If you're picking someone up, you can wait in the theater lot." "They told me to wait here." "Who told you to wait here?" Silence. Then the window rolled up. I stepped back, my hand instinctively moving to my radio. That's when I noticed the van's back doors. One of them was slightly open, maybe an inch, and through that gap, I saw movement. Not like someone shifting around, more like multiple people trying to stay very still but failing. I backed up to my vehicle and called for police backup, keeping my eyes on the van the whole time. The second I mentioned calling the police over my radio, the van's engine roared to life. No lights, they just peeled out, driving straight across the empty parking lot toward the exit. But here's where it gets worse. As the van accelerated, the back door swung open wider for just a second before someone inside pulled it shut. In that moment, my flashlight caught what was inside. I saw at least 3 people in the back, sitting on the floor. Their hands were behind their backs. One of them, I'll never forget this, was a young woman. and she looked right at me. Her mouth was covered with duct tape. The van tore out of the parking lot, taking a hard left onto the main road. I immediately updated the police with the van's direction and partial plate number I'd managed to see. They put out an APB and had units all over the area looking for it. They found the van 3 hours later, abandoned at a rest stop 30 miles away. It had been reported stolen from Ohio 2 days earlier. There were zip ties in the back, fresh scratches on the interior walls, and a receipt from a gas station, time-stamped an hour before I'd encountered them, showing they'd bought duct tape, zip ties, and several gallons of water. The police think I interrupted something. The theory is they were waiting for the late movies to end, planning to grab someone walking alone to their car. The people I saw in the back, they never found any missing persons reports that matched, which means either they let them go when they abandoned the van, or something I don't want to think about. I couldn't finish my shift that night. Just sat in the security office until the police were done taking my statement. The next day, Thanksgiving, I couldn't stop thinking about that woman's eyes, the terror in them, the plea for help I couldn't answer in time. The van was never connected to any other crimes, at least not officially. The suspects were never caught. Sometimes I wonder if they just moved on to another state, another parking lot, another holiday when people's guards are down. I still work security, but I never patrol alone anymore. And every time I see a white van in a dark corner of a parking lot, my blood runs cold.